There are many different frogs across the world of Tyria that play a variety of different roles in Guild Wars 2. Some are super important lore characters, some serve as a gameplay mechanic, and some just look super cool. Today, I want to go over my top 10 favorite frogs across the entirety of the game. Let's get started. In the number 10 spot are all the different normal ambient frogs found throughout the world. I wanted to get this one out of the way quickly because they definitely deserve to be on this list, but are definitely a bit more boring compared to everything else I want to talk about. These are your normal, straightforward frogs that just live around the world of Tyria. Some of them live on ground, some of them live on lilypads, they just vibe, they hop around, and you can kill them to get credit for the different Weapon Master achievements, as well as the Indiscriminate Slayer achievement. They are found in many different zones, like a lot of different zones. They are in both Tyria and the Mists, in the Maguma Jungle and in Ascalon, in Kryda and in Cantha, and just all around the world. They're probably one of the most common creatures in the entire game, and they just serve to add a lot of detail to the world. Frogs in real life are pretty cool, and I'm glad that we can find them throughout Tyria. In the number 9 spot is the frog in a jar. This is an accessory item that has existed in the game for a very long time, and it actually has a variety of uses. You can buy it from Lion Scout Anura, who is the task vendor for the task in Arkanforland in Bloodtide Coast. Which this is a bit of a spoiler, but we are going to talk about this area again. But you can buy both a fine and masterwork rarity level of this item for Karma, where both are level 45 items that have condition damage and vitality stats on them that can help strengthen your character who is around level 45. You can also find this item in a few different containers, including the Sandstorm Lucky Draw, as well as the unidentifiable goo-covered object, which are both from Ectoplasm Gambling, and then a few different feeder containers that you can get by chucking Dragonite ore into Princess and whatnot. But obtaining both the fine and masterwork version of this item is actually needed to complete the Uncanny Canner achievement, where this achievement requires you to collect a wide variety of different types of jars that you can find all throughout the world of Tyria. Additionally, the masterwork version can be given to a feline familiar that is summoned from the Enchanted Broom toy, where once you give the frog in a jar to a feline familiar, you will unlock a special cat in your home instance as a part of the Hungry Cat scavenger hunt. In the number 8 spot is Anura. This is a scepter that anyone who has played a decent amount of Guild Wars 2 will recognize, because this is a named exotic weapon that drops from a wide variety of different sources, like from jumping puzzle chests, dungeons, world bosses, guild missions, raids, and so many other sources. Where it is a basic exotic berserker scepter, but it is a scepter with a frog on it. Where this is a pretty cool looking scepter and is definitely a unique one. I love how this guy is just hanging out with you, where fun fact, Anura is a scientific order name for frogs. But the best part about this scepter is its history. See, it's a cool name for a frog-based scepter that has a frog on it, but this item is from the original Guild Wars, where in that game it was called the Frog Scepter, and it looks very similar, but the Guild Wars version features an animated rotating flower that looks super cool, where I feel like we got a little bit of a downgrade with this item in Guild Wars 2. But this item was actually introduced to the game as a result of the Design a Weapon contest that was held in 2007, where Zane Bryan came up with this design, and it was implemented into Guild Wars and was eventually introduced to Guild Wars 2 as that game released. In the number 7 spot is the Frog Pond. This is a location that is pretty well known that can be found in the modern day version of Lion's Arch. In the Traders Forum, you can find this cute little area in the middle of the roads that lead from the bank to the crafting area to the trading post and back to the bank, and this is just a beautiful area located in the center of the city. It's surrounded by some large bushes and trees that kind of work to seclude this area from the surrounding busy parts of the city. In the center, you have a very cute little pond with a large rock in the center. You got some rocks around that and some lily pads in the center. And then you got a few frogs walking around this area. Now these frogs are pretty similar to the normal ambient frogs that we talked about earlier, but a very small detail that I'm willing to bet a lot of people don't know about is how if you look at the lily pads closely, there are tiny frogs sitting on them. They're actually so adorable. These are tiny lily pads that have tiny frogs on them, and I love them so much. There are even tinier ones that are smaller than the other tiny frogs, which are even more adorable. I love them. In the number 6 spot is the Juvenile Frog. This is kind of a funny one because when you think of a juvenile animal in Guild Wars 2, you likely think of ranger pets, because rangers can find juvenile animals all across the world, like bears and ravens and whatnot, that they can tame to then join them on their adventures. Where the same thing is going on here, except normal rangers aren't able to tame frogs to fight with them, which I'm sure some people would want. But if you remember from the number 9 spot, I talked about the Hungry Cat scavenger hunt. There's another cat from the scavenger hunt related to frogs. where 9 of the different cats that you can collect correspond to each of the 9 different professions you can play as, like warriors, necromancers, guardians, and rangers. We're in the village of Astoria, right next to where Safari player characters enter the world. You can find a black cat with a Juvenile Frog, because while human or Safari rangers would have a wolf or a drake fighting by their side, a cat ranger would have an animal like a frog. But if you're playing as a ranger, you can bring this cat a healing seed pod found from Dinton the Durable in Gandharan Fields at the end of an event, where once you do that, you unlock this cat in the home instance where the cat will walk around with the Juvenile Frog. I just love the idea that a feline ranger would have a small frog as a pet, and it makes me wonder what other types of animals a feline ranger would tame. In the number 5 spot is the Frog Spirit of the Wild. Okay, this one is actually kind of crazy, where the spirits of the wild, in a very short summary, are the godlike spirits that represent all the different animal species across Tyria whom the Norn revere. Most players should be familiar with wolf, raven, snow leopard, and bear, as they are the biggest ones in modern day Norn culture. But you also got some other important ones like eagle, owl, ox, wolverine, and minotaur. And then you have a variety of other types of spirits, including the frog spirit, where this is a really small piece of Guild Wars 2 lore that we don't know too much about, and since it is short, I'll just go over it all. Scold is an Order Whispers agent located in Hoperak who is spying on Newt Whitebear, where you can chat with him to learn that every single animal does indeed have a spirit. So if you think of any animal in the game, there's a spirit connected to the animal, like frogs, where some of the spirits of the wild have died, which causes a lot of distress and weakens the animals that correspond with that spirit, where we don't really know where Frog is or what's going on with Frog, but in Floodwater Causeway you can find the Norn Fraki as well as the Hylek Waddle, who banter a little bit about the frog spirit, where Fraki says that the frog spirit is not worth the Norn's time or praise, and the only useful thing that Frog could teach the Norn is how to catch flies, whereas Watto talks about how it would be valuable to learn more about Frog and its lessons. Where overall, I just think this is a super cool lore character that we know barely anything about, and we will hopefully learn more about in the future. Speaking of the Hylek, in the number 4 spot are the Hylek. This is a sentient race of frog-like creatures who we can find throughout Tyria, mostly in the Maguma jungle, where there are a ton of different groups of Hylek that we can look at, but largely they just look like frog people, which is super cool. I love unique beast races in fantasy games that take a relatively normal animal and turn them into a humanoid race, like the Argonians from the Elder Scrolls, the Tauren from Warcraft, and the Char and Hylek from Guild Wars. Where I am planning on making a longer video about the Hylek in the future, let's just go over the varieties we see in game. Where we have the Hekid, who are a tribe native to Ilona that have suffered a lot from Palawajoko. We then have a wide variety of different tribes located throughout the Maguma jungle and some other regions of Tyria that have a variety of different members and some different cultural practices. We then have the Itzel from the Heart of Thorns expansion who look pretty different from the normal Hylek as they look even more humanoid. And then we have the New Hawk from the Heart of Thorns expansion who also look different from the normal Hylek, who are basically just big boys. Where overall I enjoy the Hylek a lot, and I think it would be a lot of fun if we saw the Itzel as a playable race one day, but they are humanoid frogs and they have to be on this list. In the number 3 spot are the frogs located in the Gauntlet of the Connor. The Gauntlet of the Connor is a super fun jumping puzzle located in Grothmar Valley, where this is a decently lengthy adventure that has a wide variety of different parts. You have to pick up a torch at the beginning of the puzzle and carry it all the way to the end, lighting braziers that serve as checkpoints where you can reignite the torch should it become extinguished. And the largest area of this puzzle is a massive chasm featuring ancient Ascalonian ruins, some incredible trees with mushrooms, a lot of water, and lily pads with frogs on them. Where these frogs are quite a bit bigger than your normal frogs and look really cool, but they serve as a mechanic in this jumping puzzle. As you can see in this video, these frogs will blow water directly in front of them towards the lily pads that you need to jump on to avoid falling in the water. But should you get blasted by the frog, your torch will become extinguished and you will have to go back to the most recent checkpoint. So you will need to time your jumps to make sure you get past the frogs before they begin blowing water again. And as someone who likes jumping puzzle and unique mechanics, these frogs are very special to me, and I think beyond all that, they're just cool looking as well. In the number 2 spot are Keen Toad and all the other toads located in the Super Adventure Box, where this is a very fun thing to throw on this list because Super Adventure Box is basically a game inside of a game where it is completely different compared to the rest of normal Guild Wars 2. So it's kind of weird to compare things from Super Adventure Box to the rest of Guild Wars 2, but I think it works well for this topic. And another thing is the difference between toads and frogs, because we have only talked about frogs in this video. According to the Forest Preserve District of Will County, Illinois, who says according to Penn State University, all toads are frogs, but not all frogs are toads, where there are a bunch of differences between toads and frogs, where toads are basically just a classification of frog. And I think generally speaking, the average person views frogs and toads as the same. Anyways, Super Adventure Box. Toads are enemies that can be found all throughout the box and come in 2 colors. Green toads can be found throughout the Kingdom of Fungus, which is the 3rd zone of World 3, where they are known for grabbing you with their tongue, stunning you, and pulling you towards them. Orange toads can be found in the Rapids and Pain Cliffs, which are Zone 1 and 2 respectively of World 2, where most people likely associate them with Zone 1, where they will swallow you, stunning you for a moment and damaging you, then spitting you back out, where both of these enemies are pretty cool looking and do unique things. But then you have Keen Toad, who serves as the final boss of World 1. He is a massive toad wearing a crown and a bunch of jewelry. He's in a massive chamber with some massive lily pads, and all around the chamber are a bunch of different toads looking down at the Keen Toad. Where this is a pretty straightforward boss fight, where you need to avoid his attacks, break apart his amulet to get his jewel shards, to then throw those shards at him while his mouth is open. If you can do this, he will be stunned, and you can damage him before he gets back up, where you can repeat until he dies. Where overall, this is just a pretty fun and simple boss fight. But Keen Toad looks super cool, and I love his model a lot, where I also like all the other Toad models across the box. But now for the number 1 spot, for my favorite frog in all of Guild Wars 2, and well, it's the Marsh Frog. I think on the surface level, this is a pretty basic frog that deserves a spot a lot lower on this list, but there's one aspect of this frog that really puts it in the number 1 spot for me. Returning where you can buy the frog in the jar, we have the task in the Arkan Foreland in Bloodtide Coast. You can do a variety of things to complete the quest, but 2 objectives revolve around all of the Marsh Frogs, where you can find the frogs wandering around this area, which are the basic model of frog, which we have already talked about, but you can interact with them to get the Marsh Frog in your inventory. You can bring the Marsh Frogs to the line guard trap in order to set them and attract a Marsh Drake to come and eat the frog, which you can defeat, where this is slightly horrifying, but the thing that is significantly more horrifying is how you can bring the Marsh Frog to a frog juicer, which allows you to obtain a bottle of pheromone that you can then throw at the Marsh Drake egg poachers, allowing you to fight them, which I'm not 100% sure if you are just extracting something from the frog or straight up grinding them up, but you do use the frog in your inventory upon doing this. But the aspect of this frog that really pushes it this high on my list is how there is no limit to how many frogs you can pick up. You don't have to use the frogs for the task, and even if you have completed the task, you can continue to pick them up, where they don't despawn, and they will stay in your inventory until you use them or delete them, where it is a very popular thing in the Guild Wars 2 community to just run around this area and collect a bunch of these frogs, where you'll see a Reddit or forum post every couple of weeks of someone sharing all these frogs that they've collected, where a lot of other people will keep a frog or 250 of them in their inventory to take on their adventures across Tyria. And did I really spend upwards of an hour filling up this character's inventory with a bunch of Marsh Frogs just for a short clip in a YouTube video? Yes. Yes, I did. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. Frogs in general are really cool, and there are a bunch of incredible things related to the different frogs in Guild Wars 2 if you take a moment to look around and learn about the world. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing because only around 15% of my viewers are subscribed. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.